Hello everyone, welcome back to the e-learning space of MGM Higher Secondary School, Bokaro. This is the second video for Unit 7 Section C of English Class 8 coursebook. The title of the lesson is The Merchant of Venice and it is written by the famous William Shakespeare. In the play The Merchant of Venice, there are a number of characters, but in this particular scene mentioned in your textbook, these are the characters involved. There is a duke, he is presiding over the court session. We have the protagonist Antonio, he is a prominent merchant of Venice. Then we have Bassanio, he is Antonio's very close friend, he is a suitor to Portia. That means he woos Portia and later marries her. Lorenzo is also a friend of Antonio and Bassanio both. He is in love with Jessica and later he marries her to become her husband. We have Portia, who is acting as a lawyer in the scene. She is a rich heiress and later on she marries Bassanio in the play. We have Shylock, a miserly Jew. He is a moneylender and he is the father of Jessica, the same Jessica who later on marries Lorenzo, a friend of Antonio and Bassanio. About the play. In Venice, the court convenes for Antonio's trial. The Duke of Venice greets Antonio and expresses pity for him, calling Shylock an inhuman monster who can summon neither pity nor mercy. Antonio says he knows the Duke has done all that he can to lawfully counter Shylock's malicious intentions. The Duke summons Shylock into the courtroom and addresses him, saying that he believes that Shylock means only to frighten Antonio by extending this drama to the brink of performance. This is all in the play. No one, the Duke says, believes that Shylock actually means to inflict such a horrible penalty on Antonio, who has already suffered the loss of his ships. Shylock reiterates his intentions and says that should the court deny him his right, the city's very laws and freedoms will be forfeited. Shylock offers no explanation for his insistence other than to say that certain hatreds, like certain passions, are lodged deep within a person's heart. Shylock hates Antonio, and for him that is reason enough. This is in the play. This is the background or the story in the play. An abridged version of this trial scene is given in your textbook. Let us analyze it. The trial scene is the longest in the play and stands as one of the most dramatic scenes in all of Shakespeare. A number of critics have raised questions about the accuracy and fairness of the courtroom proceedings. The presiding duke is far from impartial. Portia appears as an unbiased legal authority when in fact she is married to the defendant's best friend and she appears in disguise under a false name. These points would seem to stack the deck against Shylock, but if the trial is not just, then the play is not just and it ceases to be a comedy. Thus, while Portia bends the rules of the court, her decision is nonetheless legally accurate. More important for the cause of justice, the original bond was made under false pretenses. Shylock lied when he told Antonio that he would never collect the pound of flesh. Therefore, Portia's actions restore justice instead of pervert it. Now, based on this trial scene given in your textbook, what themes come to the light? Let us see. First, self-interest versus love. On the surface, the main difference between the Christian characters and Shylock appears to be that the Christian characters value human relationships over business ones, whereas Shylock is only interested in money. The Christian characters certainly view the matter this way. The divine quality of mercy. The conflict between Shylock and the Christian characters comes to a head over the issue of mercy. The other characters acknowledge that the law is on Shylock's side, but they all expect him to show mercy, which he refuses to do. When, during the trial, Shylock asks Portia what could possibly compel him to be merciful, Portia's long reply, beginning with the words, "The quality of mercy is not strained," clarifies what is at stake in the argument. Human beings should be merciful because God is merciful. Mercy is an attribute of God Himself and therefore greater than power, majesty, or law. Once she has turned Shylock's greatest weapon, the law, against him, Portia has the opportunity to give freely of the mercy for which she so beautifully advocates. Instead, she backs Shylock into a corner where she strips him of his bond, his estate, and his dignity, forcing him to kneel and beg for mercy. Given that Antonio decides not to seize Shylock's goods as punishment for conspiring against him, we might consider Antonio to be merciful. But we may also question whether it is merciful to return Shylock half of his goods, only to take away his religion and his profession. The theme of friendship is also well expressed in this particular scene. The theme of friendship drives most of the action in The Merchant of Venice. Bassanio needs money and turns to Antonio. Antonio immediately and unquestioningly agrees to do whatever he can to help his friend, including offering a pound of his own flesh to Shylock if he defaults on the loan. Antonio never rebukes Bassanio for leading him into the situation that later threatens his life. Instead, Antonio repeatedly says that he is happy to die for the sake of his friend. The play depicts friendship as one of the most intense and important emotional bonds humans can experience and suggests that the bond of friendship between Antonio and Bassanio may even run deeper than romantic love. We now begin with the textual exercises about the passage. Read to understand. Answer these questions with reference to the context. I take full responsibility for my actions. Who said this? Shylock said this. Who was he or she responding to? He was responding to Portia. What does his response reveal about his or her attitude? His response revealed that he was a cold-hearted, evil, and selfish man. Second one, that can't happen. There's no power in Venice that can change an established law. Who spoke these words? Portia said these words. Who was the person responding to? Portia was responding to Bassanio's appeal to the Duke. Who was the response expected from? The response was expected from the Duke. What does that refer to in the first sentence? That refers to the bending of the law that Bassanio requested from the Duke. What reason does the speaker give for why that can't happen? Portia said that if an established decree is changed, the change will be recorded as a precedent and many wrong legal decisions will result from it. Next extract, I beg your honor to declare your verdict. Who uttered these words? Antonio said these words. When did the speaker make this request? Antonio made this request when Shylock declared that there was no person in the world who could make him change his mind. Why was the speaker in such haste for the judgment to be declared? The speaker was in great haste for the judgment to be declared so that he could cut off a pound of flesh from Antonio's body as was written in their agreement. Number 4. Is that what the agreement says? Who asked this question? Shylock asked this question. Who was it addressed to? The question was addressed to Portia. What aspect of the agreement was the speaker referring to, and why did he or she ask this question? Shylock is asking this question in response to Portia's statement that he should call a surgeon so that Antonio does not bleed to death after a pound of flesh is cut off from his body. Exercise B. 10 events are arranged here, but they're not in the order of their appearance. The sequence here is not proper. You have to write in the boxes here which sentence comes first or which event happened first. So I'm going to only discuss the answer with you. First one, Antonio borrowed a huge sum of money from Shylock. Second, Antonio could not repay the money because his ship sank. Third, Shylock took Antonio to court and refused to show mercy. Fourth, Bassanio accused Shylock of being evil and malicious. Fifth, Shylock was offered 3 times the amount borrowed. Sixth, Shylock said there was no power in the tongue of man to make him change his mind. Seventh, the court awarded a pound of flesh to be extracted without shedding a drop of blood. Eighth, Shylock agreed to take the principal amount. Ninth, Portia punished Shylock for attempting to kill Antonio. 10th, half of Shylock's wealth was willed to his daughter and son-in-law. Exercise C. Answer these questions. Why do you think Shylock refused to have a surgeon attend to Antonio? Shylock refused to have a surgeon attend to Antonio because he did not want him to save Antonio after he had cut off his pound of flesh from Antonio's body. Second, how did Portia use Shylock's terms of agreement to save Antonio's life? Portia used Shylock's terms of agreement to save Antonio's life by telling Shylock that he could only cut off a pound of flesh from Antonio's body without shedding even a drop of blood, as it was not mentioned in the agreement. If the measuring scale changed by even so much as a hair from his promised 1 pound, Shylock would have to die and all his property will be confiscated. Third, did Shylock's opinion of Portia as the most learned judge change? Why? And when do you think his change of opinion would have come about? Yes, Shylock's opinion of Portia as the most learned judge changed when she turned the tables on him by telling him that he could take his pound of flesh from Antonio's body without shedding even a drop of blood as per their agreement. If he did so, he would face the appropriate punishment under the laws of Venice. Why do you think Portia insisted on the penalty and the agreement? Portia insisted on the penalty and the agreement to save Antonio's life, as she knew that Shylock could not cut off a pound of flesh from Antonio's body without spilling any blood. However, since the agreement did not mention anything about the spilling of blood, and Shylock had insisted from the beginning that the agreement should be honored, Portia trapped him in his own agreement terms. If he violated the agreement now, the penalty would be his death and the confiscation of his all property. Do you think the Duke was just and merciful? Why? The Duke was merciful because he pardoned Shylock and spared his life, even though he had tried to kill Antonio, a citizen of Venice. The Duke was also just, as he ordered half of Shylock's wealth to go to Antonio and half of it to the state. He also agreed to reduce the penalty to a fine if Shylock showed proper humility. Coming to discuss and write, this is something that is very subjective and based on your discretion and understanding. Who do you think showed the greatest mercy? The Duke, Portia, or Antonio? Justify your response. The law says that if somebody tries to kill a citizen of Venice directly or indirectly, then his life is in the hands of the Duke and his entire property is to be confiscated. But the Duke was merciful. He did not give a death warrant to Shylock. He in fact said if he shows humility, then his penalty can be reduced to a fine. Portia, she trapped Shylock in his own agreement. She did not want any change to come to the penalty that was meant for Shylock. In fact, she said that it is Antonio who is going to decide what he wants. And Antonio, he says he does not want the money for himself, but This man Shylock has to will, write in his will, that he is going to give away his property to his daughter Jessica and the son-in-law that she is going to marry, that is Lorenzo, a friend of Antonio. So now you decide, who do you think was more merciful? Comment on the character of Portia based on the extract. We know that Portia is a woman, but she is disguised as a lawyer and she has every knowledge of the law of Venice, and she has bent the law in such a way that the law has been agreed upon, the agreement has been kept, and yet the law was in the favor of Antonio. Portia, being a woman, cannot come to the court in her own form, so she's dressed as a lawyer. Now, after being dressed as a lawyer, she does everything a lawyer should do. She follows the words of the law. She tries to keep the agreement and hence in the process saves Antonio. And you can comment on how she first appealed to Shylock for mercy, then she appeals to his greedy and money-lender nature by offering him thrice the amount of money that he loaned. Then finally, when he does not agree to anything, she keeps the promise, the verdict is passed, Shylock is happy with the judgment, and then the twist comes. So you can comment on how she is a wise character, a clever woman, etc. Time to refer. This is something interesting for you. In the world out there, English is one of the fastest growing languages. But sometimes you will find the spelling of the same word differs at different places. Like H-O-N-O-U-R is honor and H-O-N-O-R is also honor. So what is the difference between them? The meaning remains the same, but the difference is only because the first one is British English and the second one is American English. Now here is a page for you. It's like a page from the dictionary or a thesaurus. The pronunciations are given, the explanation, the meanings are given over here. And now here is a list of words. If you think this is British English, you have to write BRE. And if you think the word is spelled in American English, you have to write A, M, and E. Now for this, you need to refer to your dictionary. Let me help you with a few. CENTRE center is British and CENTER is American. COLOUR color is British and COLOR color is American. Dialogue with a U is British and dialogue DIALOG is American. Fourth one, traveler. Now TRAVELLER traveler is British, but TRAVE with a single L is American. Rest others you're going to find out which one is British spelling and which one is American spelling. Continue the same exercise and complete it in the textbook itself. Encyclopedia maneuver. Okay, now coming to the grammar section, this section is going to serve as a practice for you because it concerns voice and you have already read about active and passive voices in your grammar classes. So what are the differences in these sentences? The Duke will pardon you if you show proper humility. You will be pardoned by the Duke if you show proper humility. In the first sentence, if you notice, the subject, the Duke, is doing an action. And in the second sentence, the subject you is receiving an action. Hence, the first one is active voice and the second one, the verb, is in passive voice. So when the subject of a sentence is the doer of the action, the verb is in active voice. And when the subject of a sentence is in the receiver of the action, the verb is in passive voice. You have already learnt this. You also know that the verbs and the pronouns, all these things change when we are transforming a sentence from active to passive. Here is a table simplified for you how present simple, present continuous and present perfect active voices sentences will change into passive voices. In the same way, you also have examples of how past simple, past continuous and past perfect tenses in active voices will change to passive voices. We also have for simple future and simple perfect. Go through the table. Now come to the exercise. Identify and change the voice of these sentences. So he is reading his favorite comic. This is active voice because he is the subject and he's doing the action. So now we have to change it. Means if the sentence is an active, change it into passive. In passive, the same sentence becomes his favorite comic is being read by him. Where have you kept my shoes? Have my shoes been kept by you? We will play many party games. A lot of party games will be played by us, or many party games will be played by us. This house was built by my father. My father built this house. Continue in the same fashion and complete this exercise on your own in the English copies. Complete all the 10 sentences in your copies. We usually use the active voice when we speak. We use the passive voice when we want to highlight the action done or do not know the doer of the action. This has been discussed with you in the grammar video titled Voice. For any confusion, refer to the video once again, and you still have doubts, then discuss it in the online classes. Look at these headlines that came in the newspapers the day after the court proceedings. Antonio released from penalty. Shylock taught a lesson. These are in the passive voice. The passive voice is often used to write newspaper headlines and captions. Headlines should be short and to the point. Sometimes the articles a, and the are also omitted in the headlines. For headlines that show future events, the to infinitive is used. For example, Shylock to sign will tomorrow. Antonio to travel to Rome next month. Now, here are some sentences given to you. You are going to make suitable headlines using these sentences. New Delhi has been named the most polluted city in India. We can write it as New Delhi named most polluted city in India. 2 baby giraffes have been brought to the Mumbai Zoo from Kenya. This can be written as 2 baby giraffes brought to Mumbai Zoo from Kenya. The staff of UMK University have gone on an indefinite strike. So as news headline, the same sentence can be turned into staff of UMK University on indefinite strike. Now, in the similar fashion, do the rest of the 2 sentences on your own in your English copies. Here is an exercise pair work, but you will do this on your own as a practice worksheet. The sentences here are given and you have to change the voice of the sentence. My grandfather was writing a blog. A blog was being written by my grandfather. In the same way, you will complete the rest of the sentences in the textbook itself. Change the voice. If it is in active, change it into passive. If it is in passive, then transform it into active voice. And treat this as a worksheet practice for your exam. Time to listen. Sakshi and Rupinder are 14-year-old twins. They went to Venice with their parents on a holiday. This was a especially exciting trip because they had just studied Shakespeare's play, The Merchant of Venice, and were keen to see the Rialto. They are looking at a tourist brochure and ticking off the places they have seen. Now, children, this is a listening exercise. That means you have to listen to what these 2 children are saying and then tick off, mark the places that they have already visited. Where will you listen? Where is the audio file? If you turn to page 165, you will see the descriptive passages are given. They enlist all the places that these children visited. So read that passage on your own and tick mark the places that they mention they have already visited. Your textbook contains around 9 beautiful pictures of some tourist locations of Venice. Go through the descriptive paragraph given on page 165 and find out which places were visited. We also have a speaking activity. Two people are required for this activity. One will pose as a reporter and the other will be Antonio. First, you will have to write down some of the questions that you're going to ask Antonio and what answers you think you will give. And then one person will ask the questions as the reporter and the other person will answer these questions as the character Antonio. Here is a writing exercise for you to practice. Debate writing. Writing for a debate requires good planning and preparation. A debate is an argumentative piece of writing in which the writer argues on one side of an issue by using facts, logic, and arguments. The structure of a debate essay is defined, means it should be very, very clear. The introductory paragraph describes the issue and presents both sides of the argument. The last line of the introductory paragraph also states which side you are going to argue for. The body of the debate should consist of your strong arguments and evidence in favor of your chosen side while refuting the opposing points of view. The conclusion or concluding paragraph should summarize your arguments and once again powerfully state your stand. Now, writing a good debate will also help you in writing a good speech, which is there in your annual exam syllabus. So, what are the key features of debates? Keep in mind, they must present a balanced and objective viewpoint rather than an imbalanced and passionate argument. The evidence, arguments, and logic provided must be strong. The language used should be persuasive but not emotional. One should use some keywords like to begin with, I disagree, however, instead, while, in addition, further, also, finally, in conclusion. These are a part of an argumentative writing. So, whenever we get a chance, we can divide the class into two groups and debate on a certain topic. The point will be the sentence against Shylock was right and just. So once you watch this video and you come for the online classes, we are going to have a small debate on this particular topic. The sentence against Shylock was right and just. Now decide which group will draft an argument for or against the topic. Use these checklists like, have you got an interesting opening statement? Have you explained your side clearly? Is there sufficient examples, evidence, proof? Make sure what you're writing is clear and appealing. And is there a positive result? Will people be accepting your sides of the argument? Then give a concluding or summarize your opinion, give a concluding statement. This is how you write a good debate. The HOTS, high order thinking. Bassanio asked the Duke to bend the law and do a great right by doing a little wrong. Would this be just and right? Justify your response. This is an important question that needs discussion. Come prepared to the class with it. When Bassanio tells the Duke that you are the judge, the law is written and you have the control on it, can't you just bend the law a little bit? Don't follow the words of the agreement made by Shylock. Show some mercy and spare the life of Antonio. How do you think this is right? Or do you think this is really wrong? Is bending the law an option? If yes, wouldn't that particular example be used later on by many other people to bend the laws at some time or the other? We will argue on this as well. As we come towards the end of the exercises, we see here is project 2 for you. This is something that I always keep telling you, and this project was given to you earlier as well. Whenever you need to practice your speaking skills, stand in front of the mirror, host your own show. Talk to yourself, be the audience, be the judge, be the anchor, be the participant as well, and improve your speaking skills by standing in front of the mirror and talking to yourself. So if you host a show, you should talk about the date, the time, the place, how long is your show, what is the duration of the show, and everything else. So a space is provided for you to create your own show. Write down the stuff that you should speak while having your own show. You can also create posters for it just to give an idea to your friends what kind of show you're planning on. This is strictly a creative work for your enhancement and improvement of speaking skills and creativity as well. The assignments to be done from this lesson, The Merchant of Venice by William Shakespeare, are: Read the lesson and mark the tough words. Learn the word meanings given to you. Complete the textual exercises in the course book. Everything has been already discussed with you. Do the exercise, discuss and write in your English copies. Do exercise B in the grammar section on page 157 in your English copies, and do exercise C given in the grammar section on page 158 in your English copies. And based on your understanding of the lesson, give a pictorial representation of the play and color it. With this, we come to an end of our discussion of the lesson The Merchant of Venice as given in your textbook by William Shakespeare. Thank you and take care.